K-Rugs, the sober dog, and Gemma Girl, the other sober dog, coming at ya. Now, for anybody out there who is in recovery, especially in recovery from injecting any drug, I want to give you a warning that I'm going to describe that first, couple times shooting up in detail. This may not be the best video for you. It could be triggering. I know listening to certain stories about this for me in the beginning was very triggering and still can be. So I want to give you that warning. But I think this information is important for friends and family of addicts, for people who, general public to learn about it, and specifically for the parents of addicts, and I'll tell you why in a minute. As always, Soberdogs and myself, I do not condone any drug use or promote drug use. I do these videos for informational and educational purposes about addiction and recovery. All right, let's get right into it. One thing my parents always struggled with, and still do a little bit, not as much, is blaming. No parent wants to look at their child as, my son that is the one that is doing all this bad stuff. They don't want to admit that, comprehend that about their child. It's a denial thing, whatever. Nobody ever put a gun to my head and made me do drugs. That was my choice. I did it. Now, the reason I said in the beginning for the parents is because they want a boogeyman. And I think a lot of us, I know I do, we do this a lot with different things in society, politics and natural disasters and things that make us angry, that upset us, we can't control. We look for someone or something to blame. So I see a lot of parents blame. I still see this. I was just talking to a mother 2 days ago who is blaming everything but her daughter who's doing all this bad stuff. The mother's saying that the best friend's to blame, the boyfriend's to blame, the boyfriend's parents are to blame, a best friend's parents are to blame, a crew she hung out with years ago is to blame. And the whole time I'm thinking, from the start, your daughter is the one that is just continuously doing drugs from every different state you said you've been in, every city, every different group of people. So she was with 5 people in this state, and you say all them are the bad influence. So you move states. None of those 5 people are here. She's with 3 new people in a new state, and she's still getting high. And now the new 3 people are the problem. Well, no, the common denominator is your daughter getting high wherever she goes. So you can't really blame all these other people. But again, no one wants to, put that blame on their loved one, and, we can understand why. I guess the point I'm trying to make to the parents specifically is take a minute and understand that this is a disease. Addiction is a disease. And that most of those people who either were with or maybe still are with your child, whether it's a boyfriend or girlfriend or friends that aren't good influences, a lot of them are just in the same situation your child is. They're addicts, and your child meets up with them, and they get high. Maybe one of them's a dealer. Maybe your child's the dealer, you don't even know. And their parents are probably doing the same thing about your child, because it's hard to look in the mirror and say, my child is making these awful decisions and hurting themselves and killing themselves. But it is reality. First time shooting up. Now I got a daily heroin habit, but I'm snorting the heroin every day. Never wanted anything to do with that needle, was always against it. Went out that first night with an old acquaintance here in Rochester, and I had $40. He had, I don't know, 20 bucks, 20, 30 bucks. So we put it together, got heroin. I snorted all 40 of mine. He injected his, and I remember his was less than mine. I believe half, so 20, but it could have been a little bit more. He was 10 times higher than I was. My $40 worth just got me not sick. His got him high as a kite. Next night, went out, and this point, I was frustrated. I only had like $20 this night. I wanted to get that high that I've been chasing from the beginning, that I thought he was getting, and I saw him getting it for, half the price that I couldn't get. So I'm in the car with two other people that night, and one of them injected, and me and the other one didn't. And I said, screw it, I want to do it. And both the other people tried talking me out of it multiple times. I said, no, I want to do it. Even Gemma knows injecting's a bad idea. You hear her barking? Gemma? They said no. I said yeah. They really tried, especially the one who already injected. This was a person I knew very well, and he did not want to see me go down that road, even though my addiction was full-blown at that point anyway. Tried very hard, and I said, listen, you can either help me do this, or I'm going to do it on my own and completely screw it up and bleed all over and stab myself with the needle and not know what the hell I'm doing. He finally relented because he knew I was serious. I would have done it myself. And I did it, and I immediately went out. Just nodded right out. I woke up. To me, it felt like, 2 hours I was out. I asked them, they said about 2 minutes. So I wake up, and it was a high like I never experienced before. I was completely hooked. Immediately hooked, right away. I marked that day as one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my entire life, hands down. And for people that don't know me, I went to prison for 4 years. But, so I made some bad decisions. That decision that day was awful. Was the worst thing I could have done. Now, again, I was a full-blown addict at that point anyway, so, my addiction was progressing, and I would have either died or gone to prison like I did, or something would have happened anyway. It probably would have just taken longer if I never injected, but my parents struggled for a while, blaming one of these individuals in the car with me and another individual who used to sell me a lot of drugs. That they were, to blame. It was their fault. They should have never let me shoot up. So-and-so shouldn't have sold me the drugs. All along those lines. No matter if that person in that car that night would have said, I will not help you. I'll have nothing to do with you shooting up. Get out of my car. I would have done it no matter what. That night, I was determined to. And if for some crazy reason I didn't do it that night, within the next day or two, he had nothing to do with pushing me to do that. He did not encourage me. He actively tried to talk me out of it for almost 10 minutes. So did the other individual. That's number one. Number two, me and this person are both full-blown addicts at this point, and were prior. So his parents are probably blaming me, and my parents are blaming him. And in reality, neither of them want to look in the mirror and see that their child is just as much to blame as anything else. Yes, at this point it's a full-blown addiction and it takes over, and that's when it's a disease and it's in the brain and it changes all the chemicals, but nobody ever put a gun to my head and made me do drugs. My life getting high was going to happen no matter who or what was in it. If I met her, or a different girl, or a new girl, or no girl at all for this time, or moved to this city, or moved to that city, or hung out with these 4 people, or those 6 people, or that 9 people, I'm getting high, period. And that can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. That's how addiction is. All right? Kate Ruggs, the Sober Dog. I'm out. Remember, sobriety doesn't equal misery. See ya.